All right, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, James Donaldson here, your host for Standing Above the Crowd. This podcast is brought to you weekly by Rainier Avenue Radio right here in Seattle, Washington. And today I want to bring with you another topic that is really pertaining to all of us at some point or another. The name of the show is Standing Above the Crowd, which is all about success and inspiration and motivation and really trying to put together that game plan for sports and for life and for everything that you're going to do in life, a successful game plan. And that's all about standing above the crowd. I'm trying to blend a couple of different concepts into our show as we go about this week after week. Some shows will pertain to the standing above the crowd part with the motivation, inspirational, and getting to be the best you can be, living up to your potential. And the other parts of the show, other weeks, will be about mental health and mental health awareness, which is what I do in my real day job as far as being the executive director for Your Gift of Life Foundation, which is all about saving lives and helping folks out of mental duress, mental health awareness, suicide prevention, especially for our young people. I do a lot of speaking at schools throughout the school year and really trying to encourage our young people to hang in there. So those are the two different formats we'll be interchanging with from week to week. But today is all about standing above the crowd. And what I want to talk to you about today is really something that really at some point or another affects every single one of us. And that's fear. Okay? Fear. A lot of us fear success, and it's understandable. I mean, especially if you haven't had much in your life, it's easy to get, complacent with where you are. It's easy to stay in your little comfort zone, stay in your box, not take any risks, not really try to push yourself to a higher level of your potential. But we have to be able to overcome those fears. We have to be able to step outside of that comfort zone from time to time and stretch ourselves a little bit. When you stretch, you grow. It's just like a muscle. When you're working it out and you're stretching it, your resistance training, that muscle actually grows over some time. And so life is no different. And I want us all to be able to stretch out a little bit out of our comfort zone from time to time and to be able to do that kind of thing. There's a great saying back in World War II. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt asked our country, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." Wow, think about that. Nothing to fear but fear itself. And a lot of times we make up, images of fear, imaginations of fear. It's not real, but we feel it's real, and so it keeps us stuck in our tracks. And a lot of times fear is real. It's something that we have to figure out how to get around, how to work with, and go ahead and keep on pushing through it to be the best we can be. I've got some slides I want to share with you today. And this first one really is just titled, as you see, this big old monster spider. I mean, all of us are scared of spiders, right? I know I am. I can tolerate them if I'm not going to bother them. They're not going to bother me, but I want to get rid of them as quick as I can. And I'm kind of afraid to go touch them and pick them up if I don't have to. So I use the, get the cat or the dog to help me out. But anyway, hey, why we fear success. And I want this to really resonate with all of us, especially for us communities of color. We struggle, African American, Hispanic American, Native American, we struggle on and on and on with a fear of success sometimes, I think. We get so comfortable being where we are. And we don't realize that there's so many other levels that we can strive to be if we just go ahead and look at it and push ourselves to be. Our next slide really goes into, fearing failure. It does make sense. All of us are fearful to fail. But when you think about it, when you were just a little toddler, right, and you just learned to walk, how many times you fall down? Toddlers fall down constantly, over and over and over. And, I'm sure they're scared. I'm sure they get up crying at once in a while. But actually, they start overcoming that fear and learn to stand on their own 2 feet and be able to walk without falling down. And we're the same way. So fearing failure makes sense. Going for a job interview and having to sit in front of that interviewer, ask and be answering a lot of questions that they're throwing at you is fearful. But if you're ready for it, you can handle it. All right. And our next slide goes into some other aspects of it. But what about success? I look at my life, and I've had some tremendous successes, but also some tremendous failures, but I'm not afraid to try. In sports, wildly successful, no problem. I was almost built to do that and meant to do that, but I worked very, very hard and pushed myself to be the best I can be. Sports was great. Business was great. I ran a long time physical therapy business for almost 30 years in the Seattle area. When the average new startup business goes in and out of business in 2.5 years, we went for 30. I've been a political wannabe from time to time, running for different offices. Have never been successful with that, but it doesn't stop me from trying. Getting out there on the debate stage with the other candidates, talking about the issues, and really, getting a feel and conveying my message of what I want everyone to know about is really what that is all about. But it doesn't stop me from at least trying. And so I'm not always successful. You're not always successful. But if we push ourselves, we will be more successful than not. Let's look at our next slide here. All right. Success is often seen as a desirable outcome. Everybody wants to be successful, but it evokes fears and apprehensions in most people. All of us get a little bit fearful. What if it doesn't work out? I'm a single guy. I'm on some of these dating apps, and, you got to play the game. You got to try to introduce yourself. You try to meet up with people. Of course, the woman's going to have the right to say yes or no, and I can't take that personal. All I can be is the best I can be. And if she says yes, hey, we can meet and greet and go and have a good time. If she says no, we don't even get off home plate, do we? Or first base. So that's a fear and apprehension that a lot of us have. And nowadays with social media, it's so much easier to sit here and text on your phone than it is to actually look at somebody in their face, eye to eye, and just have a really deep-hearted conversation. So we're getting away from some of those personal aspects that we need to hang on to. But that's why more and more people are being a lot more apprehensive. What's our next slide say here? So why would something most of us really desire also make us feel fearful and stressful? Well, a lot of times we don't feel like we're worthy. We look at folks over on the other side of the town and say, wow, they're living the large life. They're living high on a hog. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but we'll never be the Joneses. And so we have this negative self-talk that goes on that we have to be able to get on top of and say, wow, I am good enough. I am smart enough. I am capable. I can do all those things everybody else can do. But first, I got to learn how to do it and then apply myself and make sure that I get it done as best to my ability. It may not be to your neighbor's ability. They might be smarter. They might be faster. They might be better. But as long as you're doing it to your best ability, that's success. And that's something I really want you to take away from all this. Our next slide goes on to say, here are 9 reasons that people are typically afraid of success. Number 1 is, here we go, the unknown, the fear of the unknown. We don't know what we don't know, right? And so that's scary. That's fearful. And so we have to educate ourselves, inform ourselves as best we can to take some of that fear away. Because once you know a little something about something, then you feel a lot more comfortable about it, that you can handle it and that'll be okay. Success often brings new opportunities, challenges, responsibilities, but this can be scary at times in individuals. And we'd rather stay in our comfort zone than step into the unknown. Number two is we're uncomfortable with change. Change is hard. Change, change means change. Success means change. It's gonna make you into a little bit different and a better person when you're successful. You're adding on different elements into your life. I'm going to read just a little something here. Success almost always requires change. These personal growth and lifestyle adjustments can make us feel uncomfortable sometimes. And people often fear disruptions. We got a whole bunch of disruption going on in this country, don't we? People also often fear disruptions and uncertainty with change. So this fear can lead to a general fear of success. So be comfortable, get yourself comfortable with change. I used to have a sign in my office wall that said, change is inevitable. Change is always going to happen, but growth is optional. We either choose to grow with the change, or we choose to stay where we are and be fearful and apprehensive and everything else. Next thing about reasons people are fearful of success, high expectations. Okay? With success come higher expectations. And not only from ourselves, but from other people. We look at successful people and we feel like they got it going on and they don't have any worries, no money problems, no issues with anything. Life looks great, especially on the social media thing that we live in. But there's high expectations and people expect more of you. And you should also expect more of yourself when you are striving to be successful and when you eventually become successful. Quick little note here. The pressure to maintain that level of achievement can be overwhelming, leading to fear and self-doubt. All right. So this is why you got to prepare yourself along the way. When you start having that vision about what you want to be in life and how you're going to get there and put your game plan together, you're informing yourself, getting the information, all the bits of information together. This is really putting yourself together into a position that you can handle the success and the higher expectations that are going to come with it. Another one here, fear of judgment. Fear of judgment. Now, this is a tough one, okay? Especially for, again, I work so much with our communities of color and my African-American community especially. Fear of judgment. We're fearful. You've heard of that lobster barrel mentality, right? Where that successful lobster is trying to crawl out of the barrel and all the rest of them are pulling them back down. Okay. And sometimes we don't want to show off and act like we are smarter or more informed or more educated than our peers, than our family members, than our community members. A lot of us, we don't want to do the things necessary that really can help us outside of our community. I always say, hey, do the best you can, work hard, go outside your community, become a success, and then come on back to your community and bring all those resources with you and all the knowledge and know-how that you've become. So if you get a chance to go to a big-time college and get you a big-time career and a big-time degree, don't stay outside of your community. Come on back to it. Our community needs you. You're a valuable asset. And I know there's going to be high expectations on you. We just talked about that. All right. But come on back and give back to your community so they can help you. Those folks that aren't quite as privileged or quite as fortunate as you are. I want to read just a little touch about that fear of judgment. Success can attract attention and scrutiny from others. Some individuals fear being judged or criticized for their achievements. They would rather not succeed if it means they can avoid the gaze of others. That's not good. Succeed anyway. All right? Push yourself anyway. The next slide is fear of failure. Okay, we talked about this a little bit in the opening. When you're fearful of failure, you get stuck in your tracks. You don't want to move forward. You're afraid to make a misstep or a mistake, and you're going to have a problem with that. And so you need to make sure that you can overcome that fear of failure. Here's my little insert I like to read on with these things. Fear of failure is common, but funny enough, fear of success can stem from it. Achieving success can lead to increased responsibilities and higher stakes, creating anxiety about being unable to meet those expectations or maintain that success. You know, it was hard for me to go off and play in the NBA, even though that was a dream for me, because so many of my teammates didn't get a chance to. So many of my old teammates at college and high school looked at me and said, wow, I wish I could do what James is doing. And I felt bad. I felt bad in a way because I was given the opportunity to go try out and at least try to make the team. They weren't even given the opportunity. And sometimes those teammates were better than I was. Okay. But I couldn't let that hold me back. I still had to go and fulfill my dream and push towards my success. Here's the next slide is losing people you care for. Okay. This is another fear of success. People you care for, let's face it. I mean, human nature is filled with envy and jealousy and people talking about you and behind your back, in front of your face. This is just human nature. But you can't let that hold you back. Okay, just because they talk about you a little bit, oh, he thinks he's all that, or she thinks she's all that. No, do it anyway. So don't be afraid of losing people you fear. People who love you will still be with you no matter what. Okay, whether you're successful or whether you're not. But don't be afraid of losing the people that you care for. Envy, resentment, and even less time with friends and family is sometimes the byproduct of success and the price of success. You know, I'm playing in the NBA all those years. I couldn't come home for holidays. I had to play. You know, I didn't have weekends off to, go to church every Sunday. I got a schedule. I got to play. Now, some people can give that up and say, okay, I don't want that life and I'm going to stick with this life here. And that's fine. You got that choice. But, to be that 1 in a million person who actually makes it there and has a long career doing it, I was going to play that out as long as I could. And that's what I did. I sacrificed a whole bunch of stuff during those years. Sacrificed my personal relationships too. I purposely put off marriage until after my NBA life, because I knew one of the two would suffer. And I didn't want my NBA life to suffer at that window of time I had. And I didn't want my marriage to suffer if I'm trying to concentrate on my NBA life. So I had to prioritize it. And those are my early years. Those are my 20s and 30s. Okay, I can do that. In my 40s, I got focused on, time to find a suitable, lifelong partner, a marriage partner. And that's what I did. But you got to be able to prioritize these things and make them work for you. Here's another interesting thing called the imposter syndrome. You ever hear that? The imposter syndrome. This is all about people who experience the imposter syndrome may fear success because they believe that they will be exposed as frauds or that they don't truly deserve the success that they're having. And so this all goes back to the beginning we talked about, not having those self-doubts, feeling that you are worthy. You've worked long, you worked hard, you studied long, studied hard. You become that doctor, that lawyer, that the first one in your family to do those kind of things. Don't let people talk you out of that. And don't feel like you're not deserving of those kind of things. So success breeds success. And if you're successful and you feel you get yourself comfortable with it, it will keep on bringing more success to you. And so I want you all to realize that. Next slide is happy in the comfort zone. We touched on this earlier. We get happy in our little comfort zone. And I'm trying to encourage all y'all to stretch outside your comfort zone. Okay, do something different. Do something you haven't tried. Learning languages. I've learned 4 or 5 languages over the years. Right now, I'm studying Mandarin Chinese. That's the toughest one yet. Okay, now I've mastered a couple of them. The other ones are just basic conversational. I'm never going to master Chinese. Okay, but I can at least get by with some very simple conversation stuff. And that's another thing, outside the comfort zone. I don't have a lot of Chinese folks to sit around and talk to all day. And so I have to learn on the computer, learn with other things, and just keep on pushing myself that way. But I'm getting there, and it's outside of my comfort zone. All right. So same with you. We all have our comfort zone, and try to work outside of that. Here's my little add-on to it. Success often requires that taking risk and stepping outside of your comfort zone. And some people may find this discomforting. Okay. But do it anyway. The last one is number 9 is, will it make me happy? Will success make you happy? Well, that's up to you. If you don't feel worthy, you're not going to enjoy it as much as you should. Feel worthy. You deserve it. Life goes by so fast. That window of time to be an athlete, to be an actress, to be a lawyer or a doctor, even though they have longer careers, that time still goes by so fast. And before you know it, you're looking at it in the rearview mirror. So enjoy it while you're there and appreciate the hard work that you put in there to get there in the first place. Here's my little add-on for it. People may fear achieving success will not bring them happiness or fulfillment that they expect. They may worry that success will come at the expense of other important aspects of your life, such as relationships. I talked about that with me, hobbies, or personal well-being. Prioritize it, okay? If you really, really, really want it, go for it. And it'll be well worth your time and effort. And don't give up. It's so easy to just give up. But the difference between somebody successful and somebody who's not successful, the successful person hung in there just a little bit longer. Okay? Turned over just a few more stones of opportunities than the non-successful person. Went around another corner or two to finally find that success. Took a little bit longer to get to that road. This race is not for the swift. It's for those who persevere and hang in there. The ups and the downs, the setbacks. And I've had my setbacks. If you know my story and my health issues I had that totally wiped me out and put my whole world upside down. And all that NBA fame and glory and business fame and glory, it all just went away. Lost my house, went through a foreclosure, went through a bankruptcy, lost my NBA life savings, lost my health. Okay. But it was still worth it because I know I can get back to that point. Not to be an NBA player again. Those days are over. But get back to being physically fit, healthy, some money in the bank, living a comfortable lifestyle in retirement now. And that's my goal, to keep on pushing it from this point on. And so here's some steps that we can take, though, when, we are confronted with being fearful of success. Reflect on any limiting beliefs that you may have. The negative self-talk I just talked about. Reflect on that. And how are they affecting your thoughts and your behavior? Are they holding you back? That negative talk is, I can't do it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. The positive talk is, I can do it. I will do it. I'm going to do it. And so reflect on that. How are you thinking? What is your mindset currently? And examine their origins and question how valid they are in shaping your life currently. The second one is, break down your path to success in smaller, achievable bites. Little bite-sized pieces will get you there just the same. When I first started playing basketball way back in high school, I was nowhere near an athlete. I was a big, big kid, but I couldn't play basketball. My coach saw that and he said, "Hey, man, James, why don't you just come out and practice with the team?" And I did that my whole junior year, little baby steps. I didn't have to go out and suit up and play the games with the guys during my junior year. I couldn't fit in those little skimpy shorts and tank tops anyway back then. And so behind the scenes for a whole year, I just practiced the little baby steps, dribbling, rebounding, passing, handling the ball, and all those kind of things. And finally was able to get to where I needed to be from taking those baby steps. And so same with you. Take those baby steps, break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. And the last one is surround yourself with a supportive network of friends, okay? Family and mentors. People who are going to encourage your potential growth, and they will stay there with you throughout. All right? That's the kind of folks that you need, and that's what this is all about today. So this is all about why we fear success. I hope you gave you some good tidbits on how to overcome that, and you're going to be successful, wildly successful as can be. This is James Donaldson signing off from Standing Above the Crowd podcast. Love you guys. Hope to see you next week. Have a great, great week, and we'll be back at it next week with you again. Have a great day.